change my channel name to Yesterday's Movies Reviewed Today or The Last Guy to Review Movies. What do you guys think? Black Adam came to digital yesterday, so I decided to check it out after everybody else and their mom has seen it already. Let's get cracking! Nearly 5,000 years after he was bestowed with the almighty powers of the Egyptian gods and imprisoned just as quickly, Black Adam is freed from his earthly tomb, ready to unleash his unique form of justice on the modern world. That's a pretty broad plot synopsis for Black Adam. There's actually a lot going on in this film that's kind of hard to really dive deep and talk about everything with, because in a way, the film is a little bit convoluted in my opinion. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of characters, and sometimes it's a little bit hard to focus in on who the main character is supposed to be. Is it supposed to be Black Adam because he's the titular character? Is it supposed to be this mom and this kid who kind of remind me of Sarah Connor and John Connor, while Black Adam's basically the Terminator in T2? Is it supposed to be the Justice Society of America, who seem to be kind of the X-Men of this film? I mean, their plane comes out of this ground behind this mansion that reminded me of the X-Mansion. I mean, heck, even when you start breaking down the plot a little bit, is it supposed to be those, whatever they're called, the bad guys of the film, the Sabak? No, that's the main bad guy of the film. What else? I don't know, whatever, those military guys in the movie that are basically a villain of the town that Black Adam is basically protecting that town from. Those guys. Are they supposed to be the main character because they're actually heading after a specific thing, the crown of Sabak or whatever? I'm having a hard time distinguishing who the main character is because it does swap vantage points from here to there, and everybody's trying to do something. Other than maybe Black Adam. Black Adam's just like, leave me alone or I'm gonna kill you, basically. Everybody else is trying to do something. And because of that, it's a little bit hard to distinguish who the main character is supposed to be. If you don't know who the main character is, then you don't really understand fully the plot or the goal of the film and who the protagonist and antagonist is supposed to be. I will give it props though, because a part of the film I feel like is supposed to bleed those lines. The protagonist isn't always supposed to be the hero, for instance, and the antagonist isn't always supposed to be the villain. A big part of the message of this film is that sometimes a hero has to be a little bit darker in order to get things done. This is something that the Justice Society has to learn throughout the film, and I mean, I don't know why. I mean, have they even heard of Batman? Oh, so even though I wasn't the biggest fan of the narrative, or maybe the fact that it was a little bit convoluted at times, I did find myself pretty entertained by this film overall. I think that it was a good time. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, I always enjoy watching him in anything that he's in because he has this level of chemistry and charisma in pretty much anything that he finds himself associated with, though I might technically say the nature of Black Adam limits his ability to have chemistry with anybody. You know, he's kind of a robot in this. No real emotion, just dead, and that's kind of the point. But that does also mean that there's not a lot of charisma coming out of him. And obviously the suit and the background that Black Adam wears reminds me of what? Shazam. And that actually confuses me because I don't know where this or how this aligns with Shazam, because it's the same idea. He becomes Black Adam and reverts back to his older self by saying Shazam. He is Shazam, and yet there is no mention of Shazam or the other Shazams in the previous film, but it still felt confusing to me in terms of how it's connected to Shazam in the first place, because I never read the comics. I don't really understand the connection there. I just know that they're both doing the Shazam thing, and I'm not entirely sure why or how they're not connected, or how, you know, Shazam doesn't exist in this country but instead exists in, you know, our regular, was it New York? I don't know. But it ain't this country. Kahndaq. That country. Can never remember any of these names. But I do think that Dwayne Johnson really put his all in this character, and because of that, it is entertaining, and it is fun to watch, and it is also very, very violent. I mean, it is kind of, you know, comic book violent-ish, so you don't see, like, actual blood and guts. You see comic book violence. But the manner in which it's carried out is still, yikes, yoinks, pretty brutal, in my opinion. And that's relatively different from what you would normally find in a superhero story. In general, I think that the film is a little bit messy. I think there's too many characters, there's too many storylines going on all at once. It's sometimes hard to understand and follow who the main character is supposed to be, and because of that, it's hard to distinguish who the protagonists and antagonists are technically supposed to be. But because it's Dwayne Johnson, the film is still entertaining, and you can forgive some of those things that sometimes hard to understand. You can forgive a lot. If you're just sitting there with your bucket of popcorn, ready to turn your brain off and just enjoy a film, this is a solid choice for that. But if you're sitting there ready to critique it and break it down and stuff like that, it ain't that great for that. In my opinion, it has a lot of problems. What is the Rotten Tomatoes score? 39%. Yep, that's rotten. But the audience score is 89%, which is exactly what I've been saying. It's one of those movies that you can shut your brain off to and not really care about the technical side of it. That's why people are entertained by it. It's just a dumb, entertaining movie. But if you're gonna critique it, yeah, 39% makes sense. Which, by the way, the average rating is 5.1 out of 10. Again, it makes sense. I wouldn't be that critical over it. I think that it's fine. I think for what it was going for, it achieved. It's a decent film, one that I wouldn't mind rewatching, or in the world of the DCEU, or DCU, I don't know what you call it anymore. It's one of the better ones, given the fact that we've had a lot of duds over the years, so, I mean, I enjoyed it, but it could have technically been a lot better than it is. So let's take a look at my final score for what I gave Black Adam, which was a B letter grade. Final overall score of 78%, 78 out of 100 possible stars. You can see from my unbiased score of 76% that I don't think that it was technically made terribly. I think that in general it was made well. It just could have been made a little bit better. It could have been a little bit less convoluted. It could have made a little bit more sense as to who the main character and protagonist and antagonist is supposed to be. It could have kept things a little bit, more simpler. My bias score is 80%, which means in general, I think that it's entertaining, but I don't think that it's the best movie that I've seen all year, nor do I think it's the best superhero film that I've seen all year, or supervillain, or anti-hero, or whatever the crap you want to call it. But it's decent. It's better than decent, It's a good time. It's nothing more than a good time. But that's about it, guys. I want to hear your thoughts on Black Adam in the comment section down below. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you think it's somewhere in between? Do you think it's not as good as people have been claiming it is? Or are you in the camp of people that just can't stand it in general and think that that 39% score on Rotten Tomatoes is being nice? Let me know in the comments section down below. And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell to be notified when I come out with the next review. And until then, peace out!